Hi class, I'm Jamie Hammond and today we'll be talking about the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution is a time period between 1790 and 1830, which is a transition to new manufacturing processes. The main things that started to come into use in the Industrial Revolution are the production methods to machines, new chemical manufacturing, iron processes, more efficiently using steam power and water power, and the development of machine tools. The man that is thought to be responsible for sparking the Industrial Revolution is Samuel Slater. He had opened his first industrial mill in 1790. The two types of systems during the Industrial Revolution are known as the outwork system and the factory system. The outwork system is where people would work out of their homes, manufacturing small parts of a larger production process. And the factory system is where it's pretty much where you work in the factory, producing stuff on large scales in one location. Immigration also was a big key in the Industrial Revolution. As America gained its independence and began to revolutionize, many people started to come to America. Responsible for about one-third of all the people in the United States were immigrants. Immigrants provided more employees for the United States, allowing them to produce quicker and more efficient. Immigrants played a key role because, one, they would work for less money than typical Americans. They could do the labor jobs, so most Americans could focus on getting the actual production done. Andrew Carnegie had played one of the biggest roles in the steel industry during the Industrial Revolution. Andrew Carnegie was an immigrant from Scotland. He made his fortune in the steel industry by working with the Bessemer process, allowing him to create and produce steel for cheaper than other people in America at this time. By the time he retired in 1901, Carnegie had sold his steel business for over $480 million. Another person that can be held responsible for the explosion of the Industrial Revolution was John D. Rockefeller. Rockefeller was born in America and he controlled the railroads and produced oil. He made his big fortune in the oil industry. He was extremely wealthy and by the end of his lifetime he donated a majority of his funds. With America industrializing, it was time to create a more efficient form of travel. This led to railroads. Railroads allowed people to travel large distances and transport many products across America, allowing immigrants to travel more and allowing more expansion in America. Railroads were extremely important during the Industrial Revolution. It made travel cheaper and it allowed for the geography of America played a big role in the Industrial Revolution as well. With America being surrounded by water everywhere, it allowed them easy access to water. With so much land, Americans were able to spread out across. The reason the industrial period lasted so long and it took such a long period of time is because America was a big chunk of land, and at the time they didn't really have a lot of ways to get around the land. So by the time they started to develop ways to get around the land, it was also very expensive to do that. So it just took a little bit of time, but in about 60 years, there was lots of progress. Slaves may have played a bigger role in the Industrial Revolution than the immigrants, mainly because slaves were not paid for any of their work that they did. Many of the southern states were able to obtain slaves to do most of their farm labor, which led to a large production of the cotton in America. Slave-grown cotton was responsible for over half the United States export earnings. By the end of the industrial age, around 1840, the South was responsible for growing 60% of the world's cotton, not just including America, but that's the entire world's cotton. Technology also began to take off in the Industrial Revolution. In 1807, the first steamboat was sailed by Robert Fulton. Samuel B. Morse invented the electronic telegraph, allowing people to be able to communicate from farther distances away from each other. Charles Goodyear was responsible for developing the method that makes rubber strong when it is hot or cold, which eventually led to the creation of a rubber tire, which allowed people to drive on the tires without them destroying in the hot or cold weather. Eli Whitney was responsible for creating a machine that allowed metal objects to be made identical, allowing for mass production. Elias Howe created the first workable sewing machine. Probably the two most responsible people for the farming technology is John Deere. He created the first successful riding plow, which allowed farmers to fix their land, do anything they needed to their land much quicker than the old inventions. Cyrus McCormick invented the horse-drawn reaper to harvest grains, which allowed farmers to harvest their land in much bigger chunks and much quicker than they used to be able to by hand or by slaves. I like to think that the Industrial Revolution is one of the most biggest changes of time periods in America. Without the Industrial Revolution,